Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jody. My husband David John and I have a small farm in the panhandle of North Idaho. These are stories and adventures, so welcome to Moose Flats Farm. Today is October 23rd, and I've got this because I've got a note on it. We have had a freeze, have not had a frost. Until I Googled it, I didn't quite realize there was a really big difference between a freeze and a frost. It makes sense, but I thought they were basically the same. So from the MSU extension, a frost is when we get a visible frost. That's where you see the crystals on the plants, on the lawn, on your car. A freeze is when the air temperature drops below freezing. Last week we had several days when we were 30, 29 degrees, but because there was lack of moisture in the air, we did not get a frost. And you actually can get a frost when the temperature's 37 degrees. It's when the moisture in the air rapidly cools and condenses on the plants, and it can freeze that way and cause your frost, which kills all your tender vegetables or tender flowers. So a lot of the damage when we were walking around seeing is because we had the hard freeze and not a frost. So let's take a look. So as you see, like on the knotweed here, the top ones definitely got frozen, and the outer ones, where the inside ones were semi-protected from the moisture coming up from the pond itself, have gone through and repainted the deck. All the patio furniture is gone, and we did right there. So we did this fall remove that piece of privacy fence, and the main reason is because we are expecting a lot of snow, and that corner, hopefully as you can see behind me, is where the roof slides off onto the deck, and it always just gets piled full of snow that's heavy and compacted and just a real pain to move. So we're hoping with having this open that we can use our little gas single stage snow thrower and kind of work the snow off the deck without having as much of a buildup or having to shovel it over there, which has that snow coming off the roof there. Then we just wind up with this huge mound of snow that seems to take forever to thaw. But kind of thinking I like having this spot open. It makes coming over here to take care of this flower bed and everything a little bit easier. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit grumbly. I'm getting over a cold. We had a really fun cold go through the store the last couple weeks, and like every other person has been catching it. But went up to my mom's and dad's today, had a really good visit with them, took them up 3 of the forsythia plants, and came home with a box of pears. Go in the seed shed and show you the pears I got from my mom and dad. So in here we have some of the apples that we picked, the beans that are drying, tomatoes that are really starting to ripen, and then a box of winter pears. Rest of the tomatoes. And I did collect all the little personal melons. Gonna just go through and pull seeds out of them. It's like, I think this one I think is the green melon, or the green, like honeydew melon. And then you've got the Minnesota midget. Hopefully the camera's focusing. And then the little vine peaches. Some more apples. And some peppers. We'll be going on vacation here in about a week, so going to spend it processing birds and getting all the fruit out there taken care of, and all the vegetables and fruit that are frozen in the freezer. But before we go into the goose pen, you know how I told you that Talk, the one African goose, was laying eggs? Well, she's made herself a little nest, so we'll go in there where it's noisy and I'll show you her little clutch of eggs. And no, I actually just left them so I could show you guys, but I will be pulling those eggs from her. And we did get a good amount of rain the last couple days, and the duck area, we wound up opening the gate for them and the chickens, just because the duck area, as you're going to see, is about that much mud, just because the ground is so hydrophobic right now that it's not wanting to absorb the rainwater in. But before we head that way, the turkey pen is doing good. Their area does stay nice and dry. But right over here, in amongst the flying ducks, that's Talk's little nest. So she's got 2, 4, she's got 6 eggs there. And I forgot to turn the hose off and it's dribbling. Okay, I'm gonna go quick turn this hose off and I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, this is the muddy mess that the duck pen is currently at. And it doesn't help that that water dish just drains straight out. So, David John did go through and rototill this. And like I was saying earlier, it's just so hydrophobic that the water is just sitting on top of the surface. But like this area here, even though it's a little muddy, he was able to get it tilled down a little deeper, so it has drained down. Same, this area here has been tilled really good. And last year, this was where our main water collection, unfortunately, was. This year, it looks really good. And I have several hens that are using the White House, which I put 2 bales of straw in there just to keep it dry for this winter. And they're laying in there. And even some of the hens that I hatched out this spring have started laying, so lots of eggs are coming in. Let's see. Whoa. So yeah, that black hen is up there, and there's a... Let me stick you guys up in there. A couple eggs in there. So, I've been making sure to remember to collect the eggs from there. Let's go look at the grape from this side because I need to get out here. I was hoping to get a frost on these grapes, but maybe the freeze is going to be enough to really just push them to be super sweet, because we're going to be making grape jelly. But as you see, the chickens can get to some of them, so not going to get as many as I was hoping to get. But that's what happens when you conveniently put shavings where they can climb up and opportunity eaters. And the flyers have gone up there and eaten all the leaves off the grapes up there. But you can see here where the chickens can't get. Got a bunch of grapes. So even though they've eaten some, there's still plenty left for me. Let's go in and see what the greenhouse... Oh, let's stop at the woodshed. Because not wanting to put pressure on my mom and dad to supply us with firewood this year, we believe we have enough firewood for this year, but just as hedging our bet, we did purchase a pallet of Idaho Envirologs. They're basically just compressed shavings, and it's one of those they will work really good. Like if you got a good bed of coals, you'll put them in there like for at night when we go to bed, just to extend the fire. So it will help offset the firewood, especially because we were kind of counting on all the blue spruce logs from out front, and the company that cut down the tree and cut up the firewood did all different sizes and all different lengths. So they're really not going to work in the wood stove. They'll work fine in the fire pit, but not in the wood stove. But even though it has been freezing at night, the peppers and tomatoes in here are doing really good. Let me go around. And I did go through and get the very last of the tomatoes that had color on them in the garden picked and brought in here. The dry peas. But I do have up there some tomatoes blushing in here. Jungle. And then some more up there and one there. Still have some tomatoes on these guys, but like got a red bell pepper that's slowly turning, and a little bit of sweet peppers coming on. And I like my idea of having the sweet peppers in here. Next year, definitely we'll have to put them into bigger pots. I was hoping the little 6-inch pots they were in was going to be enough. It's not quite enough. And my stevia, yes, I should pick it, but I just was noticing it's getting ready to flower. And if I can protect it, I can have more seed, since the seed is the hardest part on the stevia, because it takes like for 1 in 10 of the seeds seem to germinate. So if I can get 50 stevia seeds, maybe I'll wind up with 5 stevia plants next year. But this bed, even though the horseradish looks like it's dying, it does have new growth down there. The garlic chives look okay. And in the hoop house, the peppers look still good. The hoop house is doing its job and protecting them. These guys are just so loaded with fruit they're falling over. But the only spots that I really see like frost damage, and that makes sense, is where the plants are smashed against the plastic itself. And yet to have covered these doors or close them yet. Probably should put that on the to-do list either today or within the next couple days, just so I can keep that extended. But the asparagus, and you can really see this knotweed got frozen. So let's go see what the garden looks like. Almost all the way cleaned out. I still got 1 cattle panel trellis left to clean off, and the 3 pots with the hyacinth beans. But the little mini roses are still looking really pretty. But doesn't that look weird with no tomatoes on it? And then we've got this one. That, along with everything else in the next week, is going to get cleaned up. But the one thing I am kind of worried about is all of my, or almost all of my soft neck garlic, the California garlic, had started popping up. So I don't know if that means that next spring it's just gonna go straight to flower and not want to develop bulbs any. It's one of those, it would have been, when I planted it, the right time if it had been a typical fall here in North Idaho, but obviously it's not, because it's still relatively warm, even though the last week has been kind of rainy and drizzly and about 30 degrees cooler. But it just started. Usually by now we're having frozen nights, the water coming up to the greenhouse and the barnyard has been turned off. We're at the point of running a hose. May even have come to this point and having to do 5-gallon buckets in the wagon. So I'm thankful that I still have water up here. But down here in the raised bed gardens, I would say the cosmos was not affected at all by the really cold temperatures. Because this white one over here, other than the rain knocking it over, this white and pink one, it's still looking really beautiful. And as you see by the freeze damage on the Sweet 100, have to get it eradicated. But the forsythias look really good. Just need to weed them and prune them. And this flower bed over here, don't know if these two echinaceas are going to get their blooms out in time, but the roses still look pretty. The clematis is coming to the cold, but isn't that cool? My pink echinacea has got a bunch of flowers on it, and my little orange one. That echinacea is struggling. That one didn't make it. But all of these roses are just covered with growth. Not sure if it's going to bloom all the way, but a little pink one. And look. Big old cosmos plants. And these are ones that I planted from seed directly into the garden, probably later than I should have. Those ones over there that have been blooming all summer, they were seeds that Mother Nature had planted last year, and they'd started when they were supposed to. So we'll see. The cauliflower here, keep getting chickens jumping the fence and pecking at it, but looking good. I got the, like I said, the personal melons all cleaned out of here. The cabbages looking not too bad. Hopefully, well, other than needing to be weeded, with it cooling off, hopefully they'll start forming heads and we'll get some cabbage this year. But I got that cucumber cleaned out of there. The mini roses just, or the shrub roses, just look so good. Need to dig this raspberry out and pull that fennel plant out and see if I can get some of these raspberries next spring thinned out and dug out of there, because I really don't want oh my gosh, I got raspberries. Don't want a raspberry plant here at the end of the garden. But late raspberries. That one was a little tart, but still really good. And let's talk about this one apple tree that it lost 2 of its main leaders. I was able to go through right there. You can see right there. That was where the 2 leaders were. They were actually one branch that had come out and then branched off. So I was able to relatively neatly get it trimmed out, and then I just did some latex paint over it just to protect it. And one of those reasons I would really like a really good hard frost is that what helps, or what I think helps get the trees to transition and start dropping their leaves, so we can look at the structure of this tree and see what we can do to thin it and repair it. And probably are going to have to go through all 3 trees this fall once they've lost their leaves, where we can get in there and see what the structure is and prune back, just do some thinning of them, because yes, I loved the amount of apples I got, but not at the cost of the damage done to the trees. So while we're at this, let's go take a couple look at some of the pretty spots I had around here, see how they handled the freeze. And I'm actually really impressed with these Million Bell petunias that I've got, because even though they froze several times, they are still looking really good. And the bachelor buttons. But this pot is still nice and pretty. I'm amazed that I didn't lose my citronella plants. This guy just looks so good. Look how just cascading over. And I still have a live tomato. Remember that one that I showed you that was a volunteer? It actually has baby fruit on it. And because it's protected by this, it didn't get frozen. So David John's still got a couple adult candies to eat. My wheelbarrow, it's getting almost done. I accidentally forgot to water it for a week, so some of the pansies and violas died back, but still doing okay. I did bring all the pepper pots and the begonias out over here and just stack the pots up there. And I'm purposely leaving them with the plants and the roots and everything in them and leaving them sitting upright. So yes, they will get rain and snow in there, but at the same time, that soil is not going to become hydrophobic because it's got all the rain and snow water in it. So it will be reusable for next year. Let's see what we got going over in the new iris bed. So it looks like some of them are putting off some new green growth. So it will be interesting to see what all comes back. I'm just hoping the viola and columbine seeds I dumped in there take off next spring and just make that look phenomenal. Haven't started on my father-in-law's garden bed. That'll probably wind up being a spring project because it actually won't take that long, and one of the plants that I want for in there I'm not going to get till next spring, so it's okay. But over here, the lobelia, the creeping lobelia, still looks really good. These guys still look pretty. Little snapdragons. Well, since we're here, let's go over here and maybe you guys can come up with some ideas, because I know I'm going to plant some forsythia in this garden bed over here. I'm just not sure what else I'm going to be doing, because we got a massive clump of that blue bellflower, not my father-in-law's favorite, so we'll be taking that out just to save him from coming in here and just weed eating everything. But this currant bush, as you can see around the stump, is coming back, and there was a second one here that for some reason, thank you, has decided to come back to life. Got all this grass, got a couple plugs of borage left, and then that is that plum tree that is now basically just a shrub. It's rootstock, so from whatever rootstock that plum was on, and that plum was many a year old, so who knows what was originally on it. Oh, you guys haven't seen this in a while. Here's the hedgerow, and it's so full. I actually wasn't expecting the dogwoods to come back this good, but I got my couple perennial sunflowers popping through. So I'm glad it's nice and full. It just makes a nice barrier from the road and our place back here. Well guys, thank you for coming and doing a walk and talk around the farm with me. Looks like we ended this just the perfect time. It's starting to sprinkle, and I'm gonna go inside where I've got a fire going and it's nice and warm, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye for now.